In this morning's Business Insight, an over-the-Rhine retailer that was a pioneer in the neighborhood's revitalization is closing in 2 weeks. Danny Corman opened Park and Vine in 2007 on Vine Street. He moved the green retailer and cafe to Main Street in 2010 into the old Caldy's Coffee House spot. Park and Vine is coming off a strong year with sales up 10% over 2015. But Corman says it's time to close. And anyone who knows Danny knows he follows his heart. I am so pleased to have you here with me this morning.
It's so good to be here.
Happy New Year.
You too.
So you are a Cincinnati native and you came home to open Park and Vine.
Right.
Take me back to that time. Why'd you come back?
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago, this time that I came back to Cincinnati, and then I hit the ground running after working on the business plan in Chicago for a year.
Yeah.
And then I spent a lot of time in Coffee Emporium, like a lot of people do, and just worked on the nuts and bolts of it. And then we opened June 1 of 2007 on Vine.
And you were one of the first. I mean, you may have been the first.
Yeah, well, at the time when we announced that we were coming in, that we were opening, it was like the first fresh thing coming to Vine Street.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, you recall our friends George and Jerry announcing that they were going to move Metro Nation from 9th and Elm, I think.
Yeah.
And then Lisa decided to open City Route, so all three of us opened.
Lisa Junker.
Lisa Junker, we all opened the same weekend.
Yeah.
And then later that fall is when Micah opened their second location.
So, gosh, the changes you've seen there. Can you talk a little bit about how the neighborhood has changed?
Wow, I mean, initially the change seemed slow or felt slow. And then, shortly after we moved to Maine, which was a little more than 6 years ago, it just seemed like it just started to really kick in. And now it's to a point where I don't even know who most of the new people are who are coming in. Early on, I knew most of who they were.
Yeah.
And now it's, there are a lot of businesses from the outside. I mean, technically I was coming in from the outside too, but I was returning home. But there are a lot of other folks who are coming in now that aren't necessarily from Cincinnati.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a different place.
It is a different place, but in a good way.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Things change and evolve, and over the years, Park and Vine really developed a huge and very loyal following.
Right.
You know that. I mean, your customers love you.
Right.
They love that store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to make me cry, Kelly.
Why do you think? Do you think there was just such a need for that at that time? Or what?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with what's going on in this day and age. I have a good friend who actually lives across the street from here who works for UPS. And she came in the other day, and as a lot of us are aware, sales are going online more and more so.
Yeah.
And Amazon is probably the biggest, is definitely the biggest contributor to that, and most likely the biggest threat to physical stores. I've learned that just recently that Amazon loses $1 billion a quarter in shipping costs. So that's part of their business strategy to continue to build what they're doing. Meanwhile, that's having a real effect on the stores that are in our neighborhoods and in our shopping centers. I mean, you probably are aware that Gap announced, I think it was in November, that they were closing 2 of their 3 remaining stores in Cincinnati. So there's 1 left in Brookwood. That is very, very telling.
Yeah.
If Gap is going to have 1 store in a region with more than 2 million people.
So in terms of your store, you did get some pushback when you announced that you were closing. Your customers were not happy that you were closing, but you said, you were quoted as saying you wanted to go out on a celebratory note.
Yes.
What do you mean by that in relation to what you just said?
Yeah, well, I share the news with our crew the night before it went public. So we sent out, it was strategic, I wanted our customers to know first via email, and then it went to our social media accounts, and then we sent it out to the media, and immediately got responses from the Enquirer, WCPO, and the Business Courier. Meanwhile, almost immediately, like within an hour, people were coming into the store just in total disbelief. And it hasn't stopped. It's almost every day. And there are some people who still didn't get the advance notice and will come in and see the sign behind our counter that our last day is January 15th, and it's a combination of sadness and total disbelief. I honestly wasn't expecting that much of that sort of a response.
And I know everybody wants to know what you're going to do, and you don't know what you're going to do, is what you said.
And that is very exciting because I'm very much, I mean, I'm a planner by nature. I went to UC and got my urban planning degree, so I'm very much a planner.
Yeah.
This is the first time in my life where I have not had a plan for my next effort or my next act. So I am very open and receptive to whatever comes my way. It's honestly a huge relief.
Yeah.
As much as I'm going to miss the store, our employees and our regular customers, it's very exciting to me.
Yeah, that's great. And I have a feeling a lot of people are now going to start coming to you, asking you how you did that.
Right.
So it's very brave.
Absolutely. And just on a final thought, I've received calls and emails and even visits from other local business owners who are struggling with a similar, you know, struggle about, you know, whether or not to continue or just say, you know what, let's just end on a high note and move on to something else.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you very
we know
much.
You'll let us know what you're doing next.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being here.